Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hickson, thank you. When we first visited in the office, he told me that in Colorado, an outdoor recreation hub, of course, motorized users only had access to 8% of the trails, and I told him we had to fix that. So I appreciate you lending your expertise to us and working with me to help draft PLARA. I'm grateful to you also for flying out here and agreeing to testify. Can you explain the confusion that motorized users experience when trying to understand if a trail or road is open or closed to motorized use?
Yes. So let's go to San Rafael Swell, for example. There's roughly 600 miles of routes that were existing on the ground that were not analyzed, and they're still there on the ground. Imagine entering a designated route that goes through and you come to a four-way intersection, and two of those intersections don't have markers on them, or all three because it's the middle of a route, perhaps. And so all of a sudden, you're a user and you're like, well, which way am I supposed to go? Which way is the designated route?
And you're trying to abide by the rules and the law, so you don't know.
Right. And
if you might have to turn around to abide by that.
And if you go the wrong way, then you're subject to penalties.
Sure.
So that's kind of what's happened over the course of all of these travel management rules and the mapping and all the other infrastructure not keeping up with it.
Yeah. Do you think that has an impact on the outdoor economy?
I do. I think when a place has a lot of access that becomes limited, less users go there, less people go there. On the contrary, I think when you create systems that people want to visit, they visit them, and we're somewhat seeing that even with this diminishing access, where we have groups that want to come to Colorado, for example, and they're gonna, we get people from multiple states that come to recreate in Colorado, motorized recreation, whatever, all types of recreation. But Taylor Park is an area that a lot of the use has been concentrated to, and so a lot of that focus goes there. And other areas are falling behind because the systems just don't create the desired experience those people are looking for, to come spend multiple days in a spot and do their recreation. They're just kind of piecemealed, so they don't get visited, and those towns don't get people eating at their restaurants. They don't get people buying gas, et cetera.
Yeah. What work does TPA do to help federal land managers maintain trails?
The best example is our trail crew. That was a $450,000 investment on our part last year. That was a crew that had disbanded from the U.S. Forest Service, and we actually hired some of the same people to stand it back up and get them back to work, free to the agencies. Works all over the state and works with local clubs to partner with different projects, and it's almost all maintenance. It's almost all way in the backcountry where it's very difficult to access. So our crew is more like a hot shot, kind of like a hot shot fire crew. They can get into remote areas and do complicated work.
Yeah. I'm not as adventurous as you on some of these things, but I'm a hunter. What benefits does expanded motorized access provide for hunters in your view?
Well, I don't hunt anymore. I grew up hunting, and I know that we spent a lot of time on foot, and when we did get something, then the retrieval part was always the challenge. And so I think having good access really is helpful for retrieval, especially, but also just getting to places that you go to hunt. It is helpful to have.
There's also a lot of grandpas and grandmas who'd like to take their grandkids out to hunt, but they maybe physically can't get there. So to be able to have a motorized, particularly to get out an elk, which if you've never done that, is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So especially if you're 73 years old or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, whether it's done by horseback or vehicle, it's always nice to carry it on something besides your own back.
That's right. I have to have a knee replaced because there's been too many elk taken out on my back. So thank you very much. And thanks again for coming out to testify. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.